Hello and welcome to another edition of Around the Ice here on Fantasy in Frames. We are breaking down each division in the NHL this year. This is our second of the series. Metropolitan Division is what we're going through tonight. Stick with us here on Around the Ice. Welcome, fellas, to another show. Happy to have you guys. Before we kind of get crazy in this division, I know, Toast, we had our Around the Ice hockey draft, our dynasty draft. We thought it was going to be like maybe 2-3 weeks before we got it done. So it's on the schedule down the list a little ways, but we hammered that thing out. I know you were pumped to talk about it tonight, but we're like, oh, we already said we're doing the division previews, so we're going to go division previews. We won't get into it too much, but what'd you think? I was pumped. Everybody was ready to roll, and we got that thing knocked out in less than a week.
Yeah, 5 days, I believe, 5 or 6 days total. And I think Aaron had sent me a text and like, man, that took a while. And obviously, Aaron, because you had said like, hey, I hadn't been through one of these dynasty drafts. You've inherited a couple of dynasty teams, but never been through a draft. I'm like, that was quick. Like the other ones
That
I've
was
been in have
insanely
actually taken
fast.
3 weeks to a month, and that was in 5, 6 days. We were moving at a fast clip, man. I think everybody did so unbelievably good. I think I remember saying that to you guys at the bar when we were drafting there. I think 20 rounds. I'm like, I looked at everybody's teams. I'm like, there was nobody that just like shit the bed. Everybody did actually really, really well for their dynasty ultra bangers. Initial draft there. This is the ninth year of the league, but we decided to go ahead and pivot and kind of do a reset and start over. And man, part of me is sad that it's over, but part of me now is like, okay, we could sit back and look at our rosters and maybe look at see about making some trade requests to set up our dynasty teams the best we actually can. But I'm not gonna lie, when it got done that early, I was a little disappointed that we had to talk Metro tonight, because I'm like, screw that, screw the Metro. Let's go ahead and talk about our league and talk about the draft and recap it. But we'll do that down the road a little bit more, and I'm sure the listeners will enjoy that because we may end up having even somebody else on this podcast here and actually get a fourth guy, somebody from the league, and to really bring some different perspective, and we can talk trash.
Yeah, we just kind of go over everything. We'll talk about all our teams. Obviously, we can rip each other about good picks and bad picks. We'll go through there and kind of give anybody who's looking to start a dynasty league here in the offseason, kind of give you an idea of what we did. And you can kind of maybe take some ideas from what we did, implement them in your league, either a league you already got existing, or if you're looking at like startup values, kind of where some of these guys win. It'll be a good idea as we kind of go through that to go, all right, hey, that's kind of where these guys are looking at. And we'll discuss, a little bit of this different scoring between our league, which Toast says an ultra bangers league, compared to like if you're just going to more of a straight scoring league. And we'll tell you why we kind of went with that scoring system and all that. But before we get too deep into that, I know we'll get crazy. Let's do talk about the Metro here. We started off last week with the Atlantic. For tonight, we're going to do a breakdown of the Metro division. To start things off, before we get to a team by team breakdown of where we think the teams are going to finish and kind of on the season, some players we like each team, some bets we like, some of those things. We are going to go through our top 20 fantasy players in this division. So, Toast, why don't you get us started off?
Yeah, before I even get us started off, will tell you guys how nice is it that we get to run this podcast here at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday and actually miss the presidential debate. It's nice because I mean, who wants to watch that shit show? So
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a waste of time. It makes no difference at all, one way or another. And that we can stay out of politics and we can actually just talk about fantasy hockey and hockey in general. This is a perfect timing. Perfect timing.
I mean, Toast,
Um,
let's be
yeah.
honest. Hockey is what matters.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. I mean, hell, I watched some football this weekend, but really, again, I think half my time was actually doing a little bit of prep for this podcast, and the other half of the time was just watching the Bears, and which almost ended up being just a disaster. But never mind. We're not in a football podcast. We're in a hockey podcast, and let's talk about the top 20 fantasy players from the Metropolitan Division, which I will say, Aaron, I don't know if you actually felt the same way after going through this as well. From top to bottom, it's a fairly weak division when compared to the other three. Did you feel that way?
I did, and I'd say probably what stands out with it, and fantasy wise, of course, I think team wise, you're going to have a lot of powerhouses. You may even
Mhm.
have your Stanley Cup winner. We'll get to that when we talk about the Devils. Spoiler alert, but at least that's my pick. But anyway, yeah, and then I would just say it's just one of those divisions that's kind of aging. When I say aging, I think Pittsburgh right away jumps off the sheet. Brian Rust, Sid, who he founded Time Machine. He put up a lot of points last year. Nothing tells me he won't do the same this year. But and then you got Letang over there. You got Carlson on the blue line. The Rangers, an older team. Although again, I like them. They'll likely win the division. And again, but yeah, you just got that age factor.
Yeah.
Ovi, Ovechkin. Is he going to get 42? Is he going to get close? So I would say yes. I 100% agree with your point that it's just when you're talking about fantasy, it's probably the least exciting uh, division out of the four. Yes.
And it's hard to follow up after what we actually talked about last week, and that division being so unbelievably stacked, and then coming to the Metro. But we'll do our best. We'll do our best to actually bring some color to the Metro division here. And I'll tell you what, I'll start off with the top five here. And again, this is a top five for fantasy players. And based on, I would say, your average scoring, where you're not putting emphasis on too much in hits and blocks, no bangers league, not really dynasty either, the straight redraft leagues and your standard scoring. Um, Jack Hughes, Jack Hughes has got to be in our mind anyway, in my mind. And please tell me if you guys agree, disagree, because I think the healthy debate's always good for the listeners. But he's got to be number one here. Not so much, not only because of specifically what he's done, but also his ceiling, which really I don't even know if he's reached his ceiling yet at 23 years old, and that's pretty scary. He's had some injuries. I know last year's injury was more of a fluke with actually going hard into the boards. I believe that may have actually been on a breakaway, and then went hard into the boards, and really, again, a fluke injury. But Hughes, if you get him for a full season and without injury, and he can play, let's say, 80 games, you're gonna get a 115-point player out of a 23-year-old. I mean, so the future's so unbelievably bright, and I think New Jersey, they're expecting a huge season this year. But Hughes is number one. Artemi Panarin. I think Panarin's 33 years old, 32 or 33. You never quite know, right? How old he really is. I mean, it's not like the Sammy Sosa factor or any of the Dominican baseball players, but there is a little bit of that. He doesn't quite seem 33, right? Because he didn't come into the league until pretty late as a 25 or a 26-year-old with the Blackhawks there. But man, we talked about Panarin and how he actually shoots the puck now. We had a coaching change last year in New York. When that new the coaching staff actually come in, Panarin's shots went up by literally 100 shots. And he was, a shooting machine last year and almost at the 50 goal plateau. The key will be is can he do it again? And hey, guys, cut me off if I'm going here. You guys want to talk about any of these players? Let me know. But I'm going to keep going here to the third, fourth, and fifth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
so
just
you
jump
keep
in
going
real
away.
quick.
Go ahead, Aaron,
Yeah.
jump in there.
Yeah, with Panarin, I think you hit nail on the head. That's a regular season player. He although he did have a good playoffs last year, he's never really played well in the playoffs. So he's kind of your junk goal scorer. So I'm right there with you at two, despite the age and who knows how old he is. But yeah, he's definitely a regular season guy.
Yeah, and Hughes, going back to Hughes before, where you can actually draft Hughes. I took a number one in our dynasty draft at pick number 9 in an Ultra Bangers league, and some people may have actually thought that was a little bit of a head scratcher, but again, it's a dynasty Ultra Bangers league, at 23 years old. I mean, he's going to outscore the other individuals actually bang if he actually can play 80 games. So you can get him right around 10, 11, 12, 13, somewhere around there. Panarin's the same boat, right around that first round churn in the second round. I believe those two players are in a league of their own and they're a tier of their own when it comes to Metropolitan Division players from a fantasy perspective. It's them two, and then it's kind of who knows after that. Sebastian Aho for Carolina Hurricanes at number 3. Aho, again, a young player, 25 or 26 years old. I think, yeah, if I remember right, last year he had 33 goals and 44 assists. I'm pretty decent with numbers, so I'm going to be in the ballpark. I don't have those in front of me, but I actually remember I think he had somewhere around 80 points, a point per game player. He's only going to get better, but we will talk about Carolina. I'm not quite sure about Carolina coming up this year, man. They've had a lot of changes, and but can Aho actually secure that number 3 spot there? We'll see. We'll see. Sidney Crosby at number 4. Boy, can Sid do it again? Yes. Why can he actually do it again? Because he's a top 10 to 12 player of all time. That's why. At 37 years old last year with a 36-year-old season, he had one of his best years of his career. I'll be put it this way: you'll see the greatness of Sidney Crosby this year if he can churn in anywhere close to last year, because that supporting cast is really not all it's cracked up to be. This is probably his least talented supporting cast he's had around him, and the most aged supporting cast he's had around him his entire career. If he can actually get anywhere into 90 points at that age, he'll just again remind everybody why he's so unbelievably great. And last here, this is where the debate begins. I mean, you could go number 5 through number 8, 9. You could interchange any of them, but I went with Jesper Bratt. Again, the age factor here. Bratt's a younger player. I believe he's 26 years old. He's going to be playing alongside Jack Hughes there. Bratt put up some big numbers the last couple seasons, and he's only getting better, just like Jack Hughes as well. The whole Jersey team is just waiting to explode. I think last year was everybody's expecting to have them coming out party and just be unbelievably great. But I tell you what, it never did happen. But I don't want to spoil what we have coming on here because we're going to talk about Jersey, but they've helped themselves. And I think Bratt, if you look at his numbers from the last couple of years, they've been huge. You know, he's been somewhere in that neighborhood, I would say, or right around the point per game average on that pace. I mean, with Hughes actually being there and actually getting to play with him, and if Hughes is actually healthy for a whole 80, could actually Bratt play 80 games and get closer to 90-point plateau? He's got it in him. So that's definitely why he comes in at number 5.
Yeah, so I was going to say, it really is these Jersey guys that really have the high upside. It feels like all these other teams are getting older. So I feel like this is a division that really separates between redraft and dynasty, because in dynasty, I think it is a tough division to draft guys out of this division if they're not on New Jersey. Where if it's redraft, you can still go in and get their Crosbys. You can still go and get some of these Rangers players. You can still go in and get some of these other guys that I think still are going to be really good this year and maybe next year. But you got to start thinking when you're doing that drafting, like, how many good years or super high productive years does some of these players have left?
Yeah, and that's really JT. That's a great segue into the next few, because we got some of those older guys on our next. So kind of 6 through 10. Kick it right off with what we've now, I think all three of us have said independently and collectively. Mika Zibanejad. Again, older guy, been around the league for a little while. Very streaky. You know, he'll get you back to back 8-point, 9-point fantasy games in your standard score, not including Banger and Banger League. You know, he doesn't really get a whole lot of in front of some shots. He's not that two-way forward we see on some of these guys, but definitely gets on the score sheet. But again, it's just the streakiness, and then it's the absence in the playoff. You know, which Mika you going to get? You're going to get the guy in, you know, one of his 3-game heaters, or you're going to get the guy that's kind of, you know, what's he doing out there? Is you know, he's just kind of skating around. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Matthew Barzell from the Islanders at the 7 spot. This guy's fast. He's blazing fast. What I'll be interested to see, you got Bo Horvat there. I'd say above average speed on Horvat. You got Barzell who flies, and then they picked up. And again, I know we'll get a little deeper dive here in the Islanders, but they picked up Duclair. Now, is this a line one? Well, it's not always a line one. You already alluded. You got a new coach in there. Well, relatively new coach that's going to maybe shake up some lines. So the speed that you added with Duclair, who may not jump off the page, is what a great signing. But you pair him with another guy that can fly, and it's exciting times there in on the island, as they say. Um, Next guy, we're going to break the ice with the goalies, Shesterkin. Probably before last year, you may be able to argue, or maybe you go 8-9 with Shesterkin and Sorokin. Sorokin, I don't know what we'll have to see what this year. We're either going to get a sieve for a goalie like he was last year, or we'll get a guy that competed for the Vezina his first year out. But the 8 spot definitely goes to Shesterkin. Again, one of those guys he single-handedly kind of kept the Rangers in it in the playoff series. Remember, there's some frustration. He's making 45 saves a game. It's and granted, this is just the Atlantic Division. We're not saying pick a goalie at the eight pick, just in this or Metro Division. Sorry. But it definitely a talented enough kind of tier 1 type goalie, tier 1, tier 2 type goalie. With the proven success. And then we got our old guy, 38, 39-year-old Ovechkin, Ovi, at the 9 spot. He was always the 1-1 Metro Division. Obviously slipped some age, horrendous start last year, but an on fire second half where he actually put quite a few. It was the old Ovi. We'll see what we get this year. Is he going to continue that hot? Is he going to be hot out of the gate? Is it just going to take him a while to get going? I don't know. We'll see. 42 short of the record. So he's going to chip away one way or the other. And then again, another guy that of the aging veterans. We got Chris Kreider. Just go to the net. Reminds me of Zach Hyman type of guy. Like Kreider's got some speed. It's kind of diminished over the years. Boots get a little heavier as they age, but one of those guys, real good net front presence, tips a lot of pucks in from Foxy. Fox shoots from the point. Kreider tips it in. So very, very talented, skilled player. But again, it's just the only reason he's diminished or maybe fallen a couple spots is just the age factor. But that rounds out our top 10. A couple older guys in there mixed in, sprinkled in with a couple of the younger up and comers.
All right, Tez, let's hammer through these last
I'll
10
say
guys.
real quick regarding.
Oh, I was just gonna say, let's hammer through these last 10 guys, and then we'll get into the teams so we can break down these teams and these players a little bit more.
Yeah. So a common theme here, JT, has actually been New York Ranger players, and we'll go ahead and kick off number 11 at Adam Fox. Really, I believe that's the first defenseman on our list, and it may end up being the only defenseman on our list. It really isn't a division that's really high in fantasy defenseman play. Excuse me. Adam Fox is definitely far and away the best one. And to be able to actually benefit from playing on that top line and that top power play, or top power play and that top pairing there, I mean, he's a great choice there. Number 12, Travis Konechny. And then number 13, Andrei Svechnikov. And again, Carolina looks much different this year. We'll get into that. Then you round out number 14 and number 15. Timo Meier, number 14. Can Meier bounce back and actually build on that second half momentum he did last year and really fit into what could be a high octane New Jersey Devils team and offense here? And number 15, Nico Hischier. Can that man just stay healthy? If he can actually stay healthy, tell you what, man, the top 6 of New Jersey's is absolutely loaded with young talent. They're everybody's favorite here. So that rounds out the top 15.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, we talked about the young guys with New Jersey, Nico, Timo, those guys you want to get. Obviously, the experience of the Rangers players, guys you want definitely in a redraft league. You know what you're getting with those guys. A little more playing the upside game with the Devils guys. Going to be interesting, and as we'll get into the Carolina guys, kind of how would the change with some of the players for them, how that is going to adjust some of these guys' roles. Um, let's jump into the last 5 here before we jump into the teams.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I know in order they're the bottom of this list, but these are my 5 favorite by far because of the upside of these guys. There's some risk, but a lot of reward. First guy out of the gate, Owen Tippett in Philly. He's our one one of 2 flyers we've got on the list. Well, Mitchkov could crack the list next year, but Owen
Yes.
Tippett flies around. Love everything with him. My guy, I've already called him out on every single podcast I think we've done. Marty Necas. He was the guy asking for a trade. I want this, I want that. Wasn't getting enough ice time. Well, Carolina emptied the emptied the bench. It's your team now. So what can you do? It's time to step up, and I think he will step up. I think this will be his breakout year. Number 18, we got Vincent Trocheck, an absolute stud in the playoffs. Had a great regular season. Um, Again, I'm kind of beating a dead horse at this point, but the age is really his only thing that's he cracked the top 20, but just barely. You got 19. You got Bo Horvat. Islanders, relook Islanders, new coach. Loved him in Vancouver. Got his sheets. Had a little bit of a slow start on the Islanders, but again, it's one of those teams where there's a lot of upside there, and just a good overall player, good two-way player, good hands, really solid player that has the upside to get to, like, say, the crack the top 10 of this list. And last, but certainly not least, Alex Lafreniere, who will end up being, when we get to the segment, the return on investment for those of you in the salary cap, the dynasty salary cap. It's your number 1 guy. He had a great season last year. He was the 1-1 pick. Again, slow start. He's just a kid, but he's really grown into it. I think gotten used to playing in New York, the spotlight, the Rangers. But this guy has tremendous upside, some risk just because we've seen one really fabulous season out of him. Will it continue? All signs point to yes. So he's the youth movement in the Rangers organization right now. He's leading the effort of the younger guys trying to get some of these older guys out to pasture. But that rounds out the
Yeah,
top 20.
Yeah, just for those listening on the podcast, I'll run those back through those real quick. Number 1, Jack Hughes. Number 2, Aaron Panarin. Number 3, Sebastian Aho. Number 4, Sidney Crosby. Number 5, Jesper Bratt. Number 6, Amika Jabenajad, as I like to butcher that. 7, Matthew Barzell. Number 8, Igor Shesterkin. Number 9, Alex Ovechkin. Number 10, Chris Kreider. Number 11, Adam Fox. Number 12, Travis Konecny. Number 13, Andrei Sajnikov, close but no cigar. Timo Meyer at 14, 15, Nico Hirscher, number 16, Owen Tippett, number 17, Martin Nikas, number 18, Vincent Trocheck, number 19, Bo Hobart, and number 20, Alex Lavinier. As those are our top 20. Now let's get into the team breakdowns for this division here in the Metropolitan. Carolina Hurricanes 23-24 record, 52-23-7, 111 points. They were a team that when we did the show last year, we really all liked them getting near the end of the season. We thought they were a team on fire. We thought they had a really good shot at winning it all. I know we had a little bit of money on them winning it all. Let's break in. It's kind of the key departures, additions, the questions that we really need to answer about this team going into the season. And then we'll get into a little bit of our best bets, our things we like to bet in on this team, and things to kind of keep an eye on as we get into the season, and then kind of where we think this team's going to finish in the division.
Yeah, I'll take Carolina here, JT, and I'll say this: Carolina will be a very, very, very good NHL team, and because mainly their coach and the coaching and the style of play they like to play with Rod Brendamore's style of play, they'll put teams to a gauntlet. They will end up wearing other teams out, and they're really, really built for playoff hockey. But from a fantasy perspective, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what to actually make of them. Main reason is they lose 2 key players, and they had no real any, I guess, significant additions to their team at all. They lose Jake Gensel, which really screwed them, because I don't know exactly what they gave up to get Gensel, and I'd have to go back and look, but I'm sure it was quite a bit. And then to have him walk, and really go sign at Tampa Bay, that's hard to take for them. I mean, that's really, really difficult for them to take. And then they lose a really good two-way player, Teuvo Teravainen. He was so unbelievably important on their penalty kill as well. Brought good offense as well. He had been a mainstay in that lineup since the Hawks were actually forced to trade him back in 2016, I believe, and we're out to the Cup run in 2015. So they lose those 2 guys. So I don't know if they quite actually have the talent. They actually have the playing style, but they lost too much talent and they didn't replace it. So that 111 points they had last year, I'm kind of hoping bet books actually come out and have that over under on points like 105 or something. Because I'll probably take the under. I just don't know if they can make that 50 win plateau this year. They didn't have many regulation losses there with only 7 as well. If it's under 105, just on paper, I don't know. And then goaltending questions, Freddie Anderson's been really, really good. And they got a young guy who's actually a big up and comer, Peter Kochetkov as well. But again, there's still a question mark regarding that goalie. Can Anderson do it again? Can Anderson actually do it at his age? And could Kochetkov actually come in? And is he ready to actually kind of take on those minutes? I'm not quite sure. So Carolina, to me, is very, very, that's a questionable team. I don't think they'll put up 111 points. I think they'll actually come underneath that. And I'm actually guaranteeing they come out under 105. And I have them for 3rd place in the Metro Division. One bet I like a lot, Sebastian Aho was an assist machine. Last year, I think he had 23 goals. He had 57 assists for 80 points in 80 games. If you can get an anytime assist for Aho, especially against those bottom feeder teams at like minus 145 on and maybe even parlay it with one other like gimme, like a McDavid, an assist at the one, or maybe like at 1.5 assists, that's the play. Because honestly, you look at they got Svechnikov, they got Aho, they got Natchez, and they got Jarvis. Nobody else on offense scares you, including the defenseman who you actually have Brent Burns expiring contract, finally 39 years old, $5.28 million AAV. This is the last year on the deal. So that's my thoughts on Carolina, man. But maybe it's good for Aho, and maybe it's actually good for Natchez, but the fact that they're going to have to do all the scoring from a fantasy perspective, maybe that actually rises their value. Not sure.
Yeah, Toast, I'll jump in here and kind of follow you up with that on a little bit. So right now, if you look at the odds on FanDuel, Hurricanes right now, the over-under on points is 100.5. The money is on the over currently at minus 120. The under is a minus 106. So that one's right on the edge there at 100.5 there. Right now, they're currently tied for second to win the division at plus 270 with the Rangers right now. Plus 270, Jersey plus 220 to win the division is a record. And Carolina right now, 8th best odds to win the cup at plus 1,400.
Man, Vegas was damn smart with that over under 100.5 points as a team. I mean, that's like, okay, there's no bet there. There's no bet there. You needed to be at 104, 105 to be under, but 100, they're just good. They're good enough from a non-fantasy perspective to get 100 because, again, they do everything right. That's a winning organization, man. They don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves. But, again, they've lost some firepower that I'm just not really sure. They didn't go out and replace. They replaced with Jack Roslovic. That ain't going to work, man. That's not going to work. I mean, Roslovic, he was a longtime Columbus Blue Jackets. We're going to talk about them in a second. He actually came over from the New York Rangers and stuff. He's still fairly young. I think he's in his late 20s, 27, 28 years old. But, hey, he's no Tavo Teravainen. He's no Jake Gensel. So they're not going to get 111 points, not even close. And Vegas has got them priced very well, very well.
Yeah, Toast, I was going to say, in this division, I would be really nervous to take that in the Metro. If they were in the Atlantic, I'd be like, okay, maybe we could take the under there. Tougher division overall. But, there's some teams in here that we're going to have to really look at. Are they going to be good? Or are they going to be real bad? So you just don't know. There's some teams that could go a lot of different ways in this division. So you could see them being much worse than last year and still sneaking out 101 points.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next thing. Aaron, you got anything you want to say on them before we jump into the next team, or you want to take our next team for us here?
Yeah. Well, last thing I'll say before we close down Carolina, I'd say, where I like the point you made, Toast. They got rid of Tavo, Teravainen, and it almost was like they got rid of their second scoring line, and now they have a line one, which will be competitive, and then you have a bunch of third lines. So they're kind of missing that second scoring line, which you call it what you will, but their defense, when they lose a guy like Pesci, they lost a guy Shell. Those were shut down, classic tough nose Carolina defensemen. But they replaced them, brought in Sean Walker and Ghost Despair. Although Ghost is more of an offensive defenseman, they didn't lose really a beat with defense. So I think they'll be that defense first. But again, yeah, to both your points, I just don't see the scoring touch there, and the odds aren't. I expected them to be higher than that to win the division. To be honest, I'm not taking that bet. I'm shocked they're tied with the Rangers for the favorite. But
I was a little surprised that they were basically tied for second for odds, and it's basically a 3-team race in the division. Jersey 220, 270 for the Rangers, 270 for Carolina, then Islanders 950. Pittsburgh Penguins plus 1,000 and plus 1,800 for the Caps. So I would have thought Carolina would be closer to 400. Honestly, like plus 400. I'm a little surprised they're at 270 there. Let's move on to the Columbus Blue Jackets. 23-24 record, 27, 43, and 12, 66 points. We'll talk about key departures, additions, questions with the team, kind of go through everything again here and kind of see what we think about a Blue Jackets, a team that's reeling a little bit, has been for a while, trying to figure out their identity. Aaron, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. I mean, just obviously the kind of unfortunate news of the entire NHL with the passing of Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew. Terrible news. I know they live streamed the. I don't know if they had just the one funeral, but the one that they did where Johnny Gaudreau's wife spoke and kind of broke the news that she's pregnant with an unborn, their third child. So just makes a tragic story that much more tragic, if you could believe it. But great atmosphere, great team. They have a new front office, but losing your best player, I mean, I don't know. Gosh, and the worst part, and I think Toast, I might have, when we had our draft, you and I might have been chatting about, and if I'm misremembering this, but they brought over Sean Monahan because he was Johnny Gaudreau's best friend. They were roommates, they were line mates, they had their best seasons together in Calgary. So that's their key addition. They went out, they got him, and again in the eulogy that Johnny's wife gave, mentioned Sean quite a bit. So he's there. Not a whole lot of other moves because they're pretty well committed to this rebuild. Now with what happened and this horrible tragedy that's impacted the team, I mean it may serve as a purpose of play. Typically when teams are in a rebuild, everybody's jockeying for a position, a line one, a leader. You've got potentially that with Fantilli. I know he's 19, but he's your 1-2 pick. Kent Johnson, Cole Sillinger, his name has been kicked around for a while. Also, I think I read or heard somewhere he's dating or maybe dated Tate McRae. She's my kids.
Yeah.
My daughters are of that age where the pop music, and I'm telling you what, that's something to be proud of, Cole. So if it's true or not, it's nice. I hope the best for you.
Good job, Cole.
Actually, I don't. Yeah, yeah. But the very young team, average age 24, just a shade under 25. So again, this is a younger, by design, a rebuild. You got a new front office, but you've got some real talent, and you've got the Iron Curtain Russians that have came over. Led by Voronkov. I mean, he was a little streaky, but he's young too. Marchenko, we'll carefully monitor these Russians, their progress, but got a lot of these Russian players going earlier and earlier in the draft. I know with Philly, we'll hit on that as well. As far as any expiring contracts, Provorov, he's blue line, pretty solid. He spent a lot of time in Philly. His contract's up at the end of the year, but with a rebuild, I don't know. 6 to 1, half a dozen the other. Who cares? Don't really have much of a bet. I'm going to say it anyway. Columbus, give it a little bit. I always like. There was another pod that I think they put money on. I can't remember which podcast it was, but they just put money on a team to lose, and they happened to pick the White Sox this year. So I don't want to kick Columbus while we're down, but at the same time, we like to sprinkle the bets. There's not really a standout bet, but if you're going to do something like that, or maybe play an angle, that might be something to think about. Because and even if this tragedy hadn't struck this team, this would be a team that was, again, these are our leaders, our future leaders. These are the younger guys. This is the direction we want this team to go. We know we're not going to be competitive, and that's just what it is. So again, it's likely miss the playoffs, but you never know. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about hockey. It's a very tight-knit community. It doesn't get the spotlight the other major sports do. So that speaks to the character, and you very rarely hear a hockey player ever say I, or me. It's always my team, no matter the circumstance, win or a loss, we lost, we won. So you don't know. I mean, this could be a galvanizing tragedy that really gets the guys, at least speeds them ahead to that rebuild.
Hey, yeah, Aaron, well said. And JT, let me jump in here and say something as well. Of course, Johnny Gaudreau was the leader of that team. Okay, I don't think anybody's going to deny that. And of course, what actually happened with him was tragic. Aaron spoke about that in detail, and that's, obviously the way it actually happened. Everything else is very, very tragic as well. From a team perspective and from a fantasy perspective, as selfish as that may sound, but just kind of pivoting that way, Gaudreau shot 7.5% last year and only took 160 shots on goal. He had 12 goals and 48 assists in 81 games. 66 points. From an offensive production perspective, again, what he brought to that locker room, different story, right? But from an offensive production perspective there, he was not a very, very large part of that offense. And when I say not a large part, meaning, well, they needed a lot of help. So for that team, he was larger. But here's what I'm saying is this. They have a lot of young talent with Fantilli. He's only 19. With Sillinger, Voronkov, the Russians, Chinikov, and Marchenko as well. It'll be interesting to see how those guys actually step up and actually are put in roles now to actually maybe succeed and actually play loose and play an inspirational hockey now. You put all that together. JT, what's the book on the over points? If it's over 70, I'm probably going to take the over.
Right now it's 68.5.
I'm taking over.
They had 66 last year. It's 68.5. The under's minus 106. The over's minus 120 on 68.5 currently.
And what I say is this. Yeah, what I say is this. Again, 160 shots on goal from Gaudreau. From an offensive perspective, it was his worst season of his career playing 81 games. Again, just putting that out there. So if you look at that, it's not like, oh my gosh, he scored 30 goals and actually put up 60 assists and got 90 points of production to lose. The locker room presence and the leader of that team, you can't You cannot replace that, right? But production, it's not like he lit the world on fire. And again, they're rebuilding. They might be able to get by without this and give these other guys an opportunity. And again, playing inspirational hockey. I like the over 68. I like that. I'm taking Blue Jackets, not many points, but I'm picking them to get 70 points this year.
Well, Tosin, I know we've discussed it this year. My cousin Kirk, who we all know lives in Columbus, we are definitely going to try to get over there and go to a game this year. We'd love to get
let's
to
go.
a Blackhawks Blue Jackets game. It's been quite a few years since I've been able to make it to a Blue Jackets game. So that's one we are definitely talking about putting on the schedule. We'd love to do it. So I think we definitely, I think we definitely got to make sure that happens this year. I know we were talking about last year, couldn't make it work with the schedule, but that's a game I would love to get to this year.
Yep. And our buddy Jason Van Antwerp, Ben Dyer, actually told me that he's got us tickets potentially for the Blackhawks and Oilers on February 10th of a United Center as well. That'll be another little trip we got to do.
Ooh, nice. I like it. Twerp coming
Oh
through.
yeah,
Love to hear that.
Don't worry. We'll make sure you guys are included in that action.
Let's jump on to the next team here as we're moving along. We're trying to get things moving. New Jersey Devils. This is the team, exciting team. Everybody thought last year was going to be the breakthrough. The goaltending absolutely murdered them. Trying to make some moves in the offseason to improve that. They ended up 38, 39, and 5, 81 points. If you would have told me before the season they would finish under 500 and only get 81 points, I would have said you're crazy. This team is going to have everyone hurt. It's going to be injury after injury. But like we talked about in Dynasty, this team is loaded with young talent that you want. Let's jump in the Devils, the favorite to win the division right now at plus 220. They are the favorite to win the Metro, and I will look up their cup favorites as you guys are talking.
Yeah, the favorites to win the division makes me a little bit nervous. I have them for second place, but then again, either way, you're splitting hairs. It's gonna be hard to actually supplant the Rangers, being that top team in this division. Man, they're good. They actually know how to get it done. They have very little, if not any, holes is all. But speaking of holes, New Jersey has actually filled a few holes, and they go out, they get Jacob Markstrom. All right, so again, that really didn't work out too well for Markstrom, previous landing spot, but he actually comes over to New Jersey. As they're hoping he could be the mainstay at goal. Markstrom has actually proven himself in the past to be a top 5 goalie at times. That's all New Jersey's ever needed was a goalie. They needed a goalie, and also they needed help on the back end. No fantasy implications here, but they actually go out and they get Pesci and they actually get Dylan as well for defensive help to help shore up the back end. These are stay-at-home defensemen. These are not offensive scoring defensemen. These are defensemen. All right. And you actually get rid of it like a John Marino and his $4.4 million contract. I know that's his contract because JT, you know, I actually have him in Dynasty. So it's $4.4 million and they can get Pesci and Dylan for about that much money as well. That's a great trade-off when you really don't need that offensive production for John Marino because you actually have Luke Hughes to actually come and do that as well. Now having Pesci and Dylan, you could actually bring along Hughes at the right pace. Luke actually was thrown into the mix last year, did as well as he possibly could, did very, very good from an offensive production standpoint. Defensively, of course, like any other rookie defenseman, struggled. But they didn't really have a whole lot depart. And they actually had a lot come in here. And they get Dougie Hamilton back, man. Hamilton actually went out. He went out early in the season, if I remember right. I don't know. I have to look it up. I'm guessing after game 20, 25, he was out. And I don't think he actually come back this. That's huge. That is huge for this team actually losing Dougie Hamilton. We mentioned that that Jack Hughes actually went hard into the boards. He actually missed quite a few games as well. I'm going to guess around 15 or 20 games straight there. That kind of killed their momentum. Timo Meier, he came on in the second half of last season. He was a fish out of water in the first half. Like, it's like, what is this guy doing? He's way better in this. We've actually seen him in San Jose produce. He was the best player on that team. He was probably a 35 goal, 50 assist guy for an 85 point. He was a point per game player in San Jose, and he comes over here and acts like he's never played hockey before in his entire life. He'll be better this year. He'll be a lot better this year, man. All New Jersey has to do is get healthy, and if they stay healthy with the additions on the back end of goaltending and defense, they're going to be well over 95 points, and we're probably knocking on the door to 100 points. I just don't think they're going to win that division, but I actually have them for second. Here's what I like. All right. Jack Hughes shoots the crap out of the puck. I want to say, if I remember right, 350 to 360 shots on goal in his last full season. He shoots an absolute ton. Early on in the season, if you can get him over 3.5 goals or shots at plus money, like say plus 125, jump on that, man. They'll come out of the gate on fire. And JT, I'll keep asking you to end this here. What's New Jersey, the over under on the points? It better not be 100. Okay. What is it?
You're going to be surprised on this. So they are the biggest point differential from last year to this year of any team on the book right now. They had 81 points last year. They're right now, the book is 102.5, a 20-point improvement. They currently are third best odds to win the Stanley Cup at plus 1,100, right behind Edmonton at plus 850, and right behind the Florida Panthers, at plus 1,000. I like New Jersey a lot, but man, this seems like people are really jumping the bandwagon. I think they're going to be improved. They have to be better, but man, 21 points, third best odds to win the Stanley Cup. They still have a super experienced Rangers team in front of them. I'm with you, Toast. I think this team does not win this division. I think they're second. I do like them a lot, but these are pretty hard numbers to get behind betting wise.
Yeah, play the under on that. Play the under on that 102 points, because they can still get 97, 98 points and have a really, really good year. Be a playoff team, make some noise in the playoffs as well, again, if they keep everybody healthy. But 102, if they can actually do it this next year, I like 102 next year, right? So they're still so young. So I like the under on that.
Yeah, and I think with the addition, like you said, Toast, Pesci, and Dylan, those are shut down, stay at home, big body defensemen. This is a team built for a long run to the Stanley Cup, not for 100 points or for who cares about the President's Trophy. So I'm with you on that under. Yeah, first or second place in the Metro. No one's going to know. No one's going to care. They're just going to want to watch who makes it out of the Atlantic, and these guys could do it.
Let's jump into the New York Islanders 23-24 season, 39-27-16, 94 points. If you listened last year, me and Toast talked about this is a super long shot to make the playoffs. At one point, I think they were plus 1,200 with a week and a half or 2 weeks to go. Toast really liked it. He was like, man, I feel like this team could sneak in. And they did. They were there. They were right in the mix. We talked about it late in the year. Let's talk about the Islanders. Haven't been the prettiest team in hockey, but they fought. But hey, they mix it up, and they got a little looser last year, a little more offense coming from the Isles.
Yeah. I mean, it really didn't lose anybody. So, like you said, JT, they we might see a lot of what we saw last year. I hope for the Islanders fans. There's a guy that had played beer league, diehard Islanders fans. So for his sake, I hope we don't see those heartbreaking losses like they had in the playoffs. I do think they're a playoff team. When he played, I hated Patrick Waugh because of the comment, the couldn't hear Jeremy Roenick because he had 2 Stanley Cup rings in his ears. Roenick was my favorite player of all time. I mean, I love JR, and it was like he attacked my family. I'm like, F this guy, I hated Patrick Waugh when he played, but as a coach, he's calmed down. He's not so red faced, but I think he can get the team, get the team going. I don't know. Again, I kind of talked about Sorokin a little bit. What do you do when your coach is arguably the best goalie who ever played the game? Is there conflict there? Do you just shut up and listen? Do you try to impress him? I don't know. And maybe there's nothing to that at all. But if he can get that goalie situation figured out, this is a great team. Really, again, so back to what you were saying, JT, really nobody left. So you're going to get, what you see is what you get, which was a playoff team. Again, I think they'll make the playoffs, but I already talked about him before. Anthony Duclair got some speed, and then adding a Russian that's kind of a wild card. I mean, Maxim, and I'm not even going to try this.
I'm guessing Siplikov.
Siplikov, is it? Okay,
I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm looking for pronunciation right now.
Hey,
Yeah, where's our
that's what
expert?
it
What do
is.
you think, JT? Yeah.
We're going with it. If that's what Toast says it is, I'm going with it. That works for me.
He's this guy, like I talked about it before, risk reward. This guy truly defines that. He's all risk, all reward. He's going to be 100 and he's going to make your fantasy team, or he's going to lose it if you take him too early. But why not? We just don't know. I trying to find some stuff on this guy. It's we'll see. But with the moves and not losing anybody, and then again letting Patrick, he's only got a half season under his belt. He's gotten got the boys ready when they needed to. They made the playoffs, and now you have a whole summer to plan. Okay, I got these guys. Let's work on the power play. Let's get back to killing the penalties, because they were kind of bottom of the barrel on both categories. They've got to get the checkbooks out next year. Noah Dobson, 70-point defenseman, incredible season last year. Really moved him up into a top tier fantasy defenseman. If you're McCarr and Hughes are gone in your fantasy draft and it's a redraft, look for a value pick at Dobson. Kyle Palmieri, one of those guys, he's been around forever, played New Jersey forever. He expires, and then Brock Nelson, who's been an Islander his whole life, I think. His contract. So these are guys that have earned their money. The latter two definitely that could get a decent paycheck, but Noah Dobson, he'll get premium money, especially if he does anything close to a 70-point season. This guy's going to get paid. I really like the as far as bets go, with the additions and the speed factor, and where they're at in this division. I like the 5.5, betting the 5.5 over on the games that they play. Usually that's what you're going to get, and playing the over on the Islander games. Got them making the playoffs at the wild card spot.
Yeah, and
if you like the Islanders, I was going to say, if you like the Islanders to make the playoffs, right now you can get them at plus money, plus 104 to make the playoffs. It's minus 132 to not make the playoffs. Over under points on them right now is 91.5. So pretty nice little number there. If you think this team's going to make the playoffs, them getting over 91 points. The book has where we have them fourth in the division at plus 950 to win the division. But if you like this team like we like this team, and like Toast liked this team last year, I think you could put money on them making the playoffs and that over 91.5 points.
Yeah, they got nothing but better, and they had 94 points last year. They had 16 overtime losses. Even take 6 of those and make them wins. You're close to 100. I'm on the over, man. I'm on the over on that team. I've actually said why. The books haven't caught up yet. They allowed some of the most shots on goal last year in the NHL, and for an Islanders team, that's kind of unprecedented. But yet the books assume still they play that grind, that slow down game, and actually it's just boring. Nobody's scoring. Sorokin actually, like you said, Aaron, good goalie, but he really just didn't really perform last year as well as he actually could have. I like them to actually score, because I think they're going to play in some little bit of high scoring games, and I like them for the entire season. This is a team that if they scored close to 100 points, it would shock me at all. So I'm back on Islanders, baby. Let's go.
Well, let's jump on the other team, right there with them in the metro area there. The New York Rangers, 55-23-4. Heck of a year out of the Blue Shirts, 114 points last year. Again, we said fantasy purposes, just a ton of solid players, a lot of older players as far as redraft, but guys you want on your team. But we got some really good values, and we'll go over that when we do our draft. But we got some really good values on some of these Rangers players in our Dynasty League because of their ages, but some guys you can really count on. Toast, why don't you jump into the Rangers here and kind of talk about kind of what we expect from them? A team that, really came on last year, and that was just top to bottom was a good team all season long.
Yeah, we're going to make this real quick. because what we expect from the Rangers for them to actually win this division. They're the best team, 114 points last year. I expect them to do it again. No significant key departures on that team. A key addition, Riley Smith. He went to Pittsburgh. It was it was awful, man. It was awful. Riley Smith actually comes from Vegas. He came over to Pittsburgh last year. It did not go well. They're going to see if he can actually fit on that second line with Kreider and Zibanejad. What line mates actually play with, man? Riley Smith in a redraft league, you can get him late. You can probably get him 11th, 12th, 13th round in a redraft league. That would be great for a team like this. It actually puts up and scores the most points, the amount of points they actually do. I love Riley Smith in a redraft league late. But JT, let's just kind of get to it here. Let's not spend a whole lot of time in the Rangers because we know what they are. They're an amazing team. I love the bet, just like I actually did with some of the other like the Matthews, the Kucherovs, the McKinnon, the McDavids, where you get an assist. Their team actually score over 2.5 goals, and their team actually win as well. You do that as well with Panarin with an assist. Panarin with an assist. New York Rangers over 2.5 goals in the game, and New York Rangers actually win. Parlay that for close to plus 200, especially going up against a team like Columbus. And heck, I'll even say it, going up a team like Pittsburgh as well, especially at home. Jump on that, man. You're going to win 75% of the time. That's going to hit 75% of the time because Panarin is an assist machine. And New York Rangers actually win a crap ton, of course, with 114 points.
Yeah, and if you're a Rangers person, you got to get on it now while the Devils are getting all kinds of love. Rangers right now,
yes,
six best odds at plus 1,300 to win the Cup. They're actually plus 200 less than the Devils. They're actually plus 270 to win the division behind the Devils that are plus 220. And then I can't believe this is my favorite number of the day.
Points?
114 points last year. This is my favorite one. 100.5 for the Rangers.
You
gotta go over. You gotta jump on the over immediately.
Yeah.
If you're a season long better, you got the money you can put in. I think you gotta jump on that over points for the Rangers at 100.5. I don't know how you can't jump on over that. I mean, you'd have to see some drastic things happen, I think, to not see them get over 100 points.
Yeah, they're giving out money now.
Oh,
and you just got to buy the fact that people are really on the Devils. I mean, people love. Let's be honest. Everyone loves the young up and comers. The Rangers are the guys that've been there. They're the old dogs. Everybody wants that fresh money. They want on that new team. They want the fresh faces. This is the time to get on the Rangers right now before all those really plummet. Your odds are going to plummet when you get in the season and they're just in first place the entire year. So this is the time if you're a Rangers fan, or even if you're not a Rangers fan, but you just like what they can do, now's the time to start putting some of these bets on the Rangers.
Yeah, and they lost Barclay Goodrow. I mean, that's a good role player there. If I had to guess, and I don't know off the top of my head, but if I had to guess, he's probably a two-way player. He's probably a penalty kill guy. Probably a great guy in the locker room. But if you look at everything else, they didn't lose anything. I don't get it. I don't get it. Hey, again, Vegas knows something we actually don't, but I don't get it. They should be projected for over under 108, 109, 110 points, and for them to be 100.5. Tonight, man. I'm gonna do some stupid crap, and I'm gonna go ahead and do some betting because that's free money.
That's my favorite bet of the night right now. I mean, you get on that at 105 close. Compared to the Devils at 102.5.
JT, can you lend me $5,000? Can you go and spot me, buddy?
No problem. We got that sitting around. So
let's go. Yeah. Let's up a cushion.
I got you covered, brother. Let's jump on to the Philadelphia Flyers 23-24 record, 38-33-11, 87 points. This was another one of those teams that was all over the place last year. They were fighting for the playoffs, right in the mix, looked like they were going to get in. A couple terrible losses at the end of the year ended up costing as they were right there on the edge. Aaron, what are we looking at here for the Flyers this upcoming year? Some exciting guys on this team, but do they have enough to put it together as a whole team?
Yeah, biggest thing for the Flyers, and I know I touched on Patty Waugh, coach. I'm going to talk about a coach again. With Torts, John Tortorella, they bought into what he was selling. The young team, Konechny, I think is your superstar, budding superstar that's kind of leading the charge. Sean Cotier, the just named a captain, some healthy scratches. So I think a lot of it is some of these up and comers. Again, I would really want to focus in on Mitchkov. I think he'll have a tremendous season. He's just that natural gifted kind of Kaprizov type scorer. If I'm comparing, keeping him with his fellow countrymen, but it often with his career, at least in the last 5 to maybe 10 years, you could say, towards his act wears thin. People get tired of doing the bag skates. They get tired of the scratches, and they've got a pretty team friendly front office with Keith Jones, Daniel Briere, former players. These players, these players that used to be players that are now GMs are always going to be players first. They tend to give a little bit more more of the team's money on these contracts, and it's just the unofficial club that they're in. So I love the front office of Philly. I think they're doing the right things. Just as as the right guy at the helm. Are they going to buy in again? Who knows? Buy in or not? I think they missed the playoffs. Again, key addition is Mitchkov. He's finally free of the KHL. He's a point per player type guy over there at 18. Um, not a whole lot of bets. I will say this. I will throw this one bet right now. I think can't remember what the site is, and I know we don't have a sponsor, but it's one of the two main betting sites. But it was over under at 23 on Mitchkov goals. I like him. I don't know what it is. It just feels right. So that might be one that of interest if you're just again if you're in a mood that sounds like you are, Toast, where you're going to just throw some money at something, maybe put him in a futures parlay, something. But I throw a few bucks on that. I think he'll do it. I think he'll be a Calder candidate for sure. Maybe not win the trophy, but he'll be up there. So again, got him missing the playoffs, but we're really gonna. This is a team like I see Columbus, like a concentrated rebuild. So best of luck to them as they rebuild, but they're going to get tossed by these top teams, the Rangers, Devils, and Islanders.
Yeah, so they're sitting right now at 85.5 for the Flyers. Obviously, 87 wins last year. I agree with Aaron. I think this team, if they're smart, they realize like this isn't the year. Next year's probably not the year. They got a lot of draft picks coming down the pipe. I think this team has a good chance to rebuild. And right as the Rangers and the Penguins are getting really old, I think that's the chance that this Flyers team could really come through. So I think if they do it right and they're smart and they don't try to rush it just to sneak into the playoffs, and they make some dumb moves at the trade deadline and try to go get some older guys and spend some money just to try to sneak in. I think you go with the younger guys you have, see who you have, and then really utilize these picks. I think this team could go in the right direction, but it needs to be a concentrated rebuild, like Aaron said, for the next couple of years.
Love it. You guys are spot on. That's exactly right. Good job, guys.
So let's jump into the Pittsburgh Penguins, a team it feels like they've been in the mix the entire time Sidney Crosby's been there. I feel like I was young when I saw him in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Red Wings many a year ago, and I definitely didn't have any grays in my beard back then. So that tells you how old I am with Sidney Crosby growing up. What about the Penguins here? It was a struggle last year for them. 38, 32, and 12, 88 points. They were kind of fighting all the way to the end to try to make the playoffs. Like you said, it kind of in the early going, Toast, it's Sidney Crosby and not much else. It feels like everybody's gotten old. They've kind of moved on for some guys. This seems like a team on the other side of the Flyers that are like, that constructive young rebuild. Where is Pittsburgh going?
I think this is the year that the wheels absolutely come off. I have them. Once they come off, they're going to fall off. When I say, well, Toast, they come off, they fall off. What are you actually talking about? Meaning there ain't going to be no getting loose. I mean, it's just going to fall apart. And I have them 7th in the Metro, man. O'Connor playing on Crosby's left. I don't know who O'Connor is. Who is he?
I don't know.
Who the hell is he? I'm guessing. I'm joking. I'm guessing. I think he played with Colorado. But who is he? Right? I don't know. That's how bad it is right now. Bryan Rust is a role player. Bunting, not a young guy. I think he's actually 30 years old. Comes over from Carolina, playing with Malkin, who's old, man. Letang, old. Hell, even Letang with all the health issues he actually had. Carlson, old as well, way overpaid. 3 more years at $10 million as well. Ricard Raquel, nobody wanted him. Nobody actually wanted him. Devilliers, man, he actually had a cup of coffee with the Hawks. Awful player. Awful. The big free agent signing, Kevin Hayes, he's going to be a third-line center, not even playing on the first power play. They have cap issues. This is a shit show. JT, let's have one discussion first, and I want you to tell me what the over/under is for points. Okay, Crosby, we're gonna find out how great Crosby can be at
I have Crosby points
old.
up for the season, and you're not gonna believe it. That Crosby over/under points is the exact same as the team over/under points.
Okay, so we're looking at what 90? 90?
90.5. Toast, you're right on it. I love the under 90 for Pittsburgh, and they have no chance to get to 90 if Sidney Crosby doesn't score 90. I don't think.
No, exactly. And Crosby, the big question is what's going to happen with Crosby? The last year of his deal, he's 37 years old at $8.7 million. A lot of people would say, ooh, he's 37. I don't know. Hey, he had a concussion issues a while back. Honestly, he's been fairly healthy for the past few years. He's actually, him and Malkin both. Hell, Malkin's actually, he played almost all the games last year. I'm like, who is this guy? Crosby has hockey left in him because that's what the greatest players of all time actually do. You don't score at 36 years old. You don't score 94 points in a season and shoot like he actually does. Man, I played him at 3.5 shots on goal last year to over. Hit that quite a bit as well, especially in parlays. $8.7 million AAV. He's a little perturbed the fact that he hasn't got that new contract offer from Pittsburgh. But can you blame Pittsburgh? They're in such a mess right now, man. I mean, can they really come out and sign Sid Crosby?
Toast,
even to a 2-year deal where you just can't do it.
Well, I'll throw this question out to you and Aaron both. Obviously, he's going to go down as a Hall of Famer. He's one of the all-time greats in Pittsburgh history. But with how bad this team is going to be in the absolute cluster that is their front office right now with all the money, what they owe people.
Oh, yeah.
Is he going to be the big sell mid-season? Is there a way where the Penguins are so bad where Crosby's like, F it, I'm ready to get out, send me to a winner, and there's a team that'll go out there. I could see like a Rangers or some other team that's a little bit of an older team willing to take some hit and add him to the mix. Kind of like the Rangers did a couple years ago with Patrick Kane when the Blackhawks were like, yeah, sorry, man, we have to tear this thing down. We are screwed. Do you see that happening this year with the Penguins? Do you think in your well of possibilities, is there a chance that the Penguins trade him this year?
Yeah, if they start off the season in the first 30 games and they, let's say, have like 11 wins or 12 wins, which I can really, really see happening. Yeah. And again, I know that Sid probably, he has a no movement clause. He should, right? He can pick anywhere he actually wants to go. He can block any trade he actually wants. But with $8.7 million AAV, and right now, Pittsburgh is up against the cap. They got $249,000 of cap space left, and that's with one player over roster. They're at 24 out of 23 right now. They're on the cap. They're on it. Okay. So they don't even have any bargaining power to actually try to say, oh, I want this for Sid and that for Sid. Like, they're desperate as hell, man. He's their only chip. He's our only chip to play right now. So will other teams want him? Absolutely, they would. That goes without saying, man. Absolutely, they would. It's going to be interesting for Pittsburgh this year. Don't expect much of them as a team, but the big question is going to be is where's Crosby going and what fantasy implications is that going to have? That'll be really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, yeah. I'll number one, I like your question there, JT. And number two, I agree with Toast, and I'll even name the team if they can find a way to shed. They'll need about 6 million. But Colorado's the team. Nathan
Wow.
McKinnon and Sidney Crosby they're like a father-son duo. I mean, it's been well known that all of McKinnon's off ice regimen, he's tailored his game around Crosby. They've become friends. They do charity events. They're attached at the hip off the ice, and they actually run a camp together. Colorado, they're 2 million under the cap now, right up on it. But Nistukin, I don't know if that's with his money coming off. I'd have to take a deep dive. But if they can figure out how to get to that AAV, he goes there, and then he under the table has a connection with Pittsburgh where he's going to retire a Penguin. He goes right back to him, finishes out his legacy, but he just takes a run at the cup, just out of the gratitude that he's earned in that city. Then he comes right back. Again, the dude's weirdly obsessed with the number 87. It's his date of birth is August 7th. Signed for 8.7. He's number 87. Maybe they sign him to another 8.7 million and he finishes out in Pittsburgh. But yeah,
Aaron,
all right,
we'll
guys.
hey,
I was
real
gonna say,
quick, JT. I know we're way over. Screw it. I know we're way over. But Aaron, I will say that's a great spot for him to actually land. Can you imagine him at the 2C, especially Landeskog? It's an unknown. And also with Viscusian, with all his issues within the player assistance program,
yeah.
they have a lot of the cap space, like you said. Pittsburgh's not going to be able to retain. They're not going to want to retain half that, right? Because of their cap issues as well. So for somebody to actually take on the majority of that for the remainder of the season, great landing spot, man. That's going to be interesting to see. I can't wait.
Aaron, let's jump into the caps. I know you got a buddy, especially with a team 40, 31, and 11, 91 points, snuck into the playoffs over my Red Wings last year. Go ahead and tell me about the Capitals this year.
Yeah, surprised everybody. Got the last spot, got bounced. The Rangers dummied them, got them out in 4. But of all the teams, they've done the most in the offseason of the teams in the Metro. And that brings me the biggest unknown. These guys could potentially win the division as the complete underdog, surprise of hockey, and shock the world, or they could hit last. It's all going to depend. And in my opinion, this is Pierre-Luc Dubois. It's his third team, fourth team. Um, in my opinion, that's it. He's a younger guy, but he's and from what I've read, heard, social media, those types of things, like he's a good guy, a good locker room guy. It's not like but he's just um, shows up when he wants to show up type of deal. So we'll see if Mangiapane from Calgary came over. Chickern on the blue line. We got Logan Thompson backing up the prodigy Charlie Lindgren. And then of course you got the Ovi chasing the Gretzky record. He's 43 short. So I think smart money would say let's miss the playoffs, which is kind of what we thought last year too. Again, they surprised us. Love Catterberry, love the coach, love the organization. Arguably the top front office in hockey. Love the town, love everything about him, but I gotta bet with my brain and not my heart. But yeah, have them missing the playoffs, despite love all the moves. And then the other thing, last thing I'll say about him, they got Ryan Leonard in the pipeline. He is, I think he committed, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he committed to BU this year, so he won't be up this year. But when this guy comes on, he's one of those electric players. So you got somebody like that can really, you got the youth movement that's not too far away. I like the future. Again, I think when we do the Metro again, 2-3 years from now, we're gonna have a lot of flip flopping here. We'll be talking about the old tired, Pittsburgh's still there. They're in cap hell. They're still kicking it around, but some of these up and comers will take their spot. Really, only bet is I think this is correct. The over on OV getting the record this year at 43 goals is even money. Um, why not sprinkle that one in there just to have a little fun, or throw it in another futures parlay. Give you something to watch and a reason to watch a really fun team.
Yeah, over under right now on Washington is 86.5, so they have them down a little bit. Had a nice little run to get to the playoffs last year. I was trying to see if I could find Ovechkin's points. Looking,
Or
I
goals,
will
JT,
search for that.
goals.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to look for that. So you,
Aaron, go ahead and
I'm
real
trying to pull
quick
that.
here in the
Yeah,
last few minutes, talk about your stuff, and JT will find that the over/under goals for
yeah,
us.
I'll look for
Yeah,
that. Aaron, jump into some of your sleepers, some of your guys we haven't got a chance to really bring up so far
sure,
during the show.
sure. Yeah, and some of these guys we hit. So some of the sleepers, again, you're looking at those. I'd say outside of the top 4 rounds in your redraft, maybe a little. If you're in a dynasty draft, it may have an impact on this. But I'd say beyond round 4, again, I've said his name a million times. Martin Necas, it's his year. We talked about, like, Jesper Bratt was our third overall in this division. I think this is his breakout year. He's got healthy Jackie Hughes, and Hughes had the shoulder injury before the injury. The injury had him have surgery that he probably needed even before he hit the boards at 100 miles an hour. Now he's 100% healthy, and Bratt's just going to be knocking those pucks in. It wouldn't be surprised if he got 50. Owen Tippett, fast guy, quick to the puck. He is right there with Necas on the advanced analytics in terms of skating and speed, those types of things. And then, of course, the kid Michkov, dark horse for the Calder Cup, or Calder Trophy. Obviously Celebrini going to have something to say about that. Will Smith, those guys will probably be in the conversation, but I'm big on the Russian guy. As far as bust, you guys talked about it when you were talking about Pittsburgh. Malkin, yeah, he played every game, but did he really play every game? I don't know. He didn't seem like he was calling his name much. So he's old. He's done his thing. He's that big body guy. There's, he just that wears out on you. So definitely a bust alert for Malkin. Maybe he's out there at the end of your redraft league. Maybe take a look. If he's out there in your dynasty league, you may want to stay away, because I don't know how long he has. Like Doe said, the wheels aren't just going to fall off; they're going to spit off across the interstate. You're not going to find him when Pittsburgh, when reality hits them. Another one we didn't really talk about when we talked about the Rangers, but Truba. Um, some rumors that he was going to get out of New York. He has the no trade clause. If the rumor mill's correct, they had a trade lined up. He said no. His family's pretty well, loves the area. So, will that mean he's demoted to the second line? He's that ultimate banger type of guy. Just doesn't show up on the score sheet, but does with the shots and the hits. But again, you can only hit so many times. That just takes a lot out of you. Tom Wilson, those guys they're like the running backs. Your body can only take so much abuse, and might be it for him. And then, of course, Bryan Rust, going back to the old Pittsburgh. So I got a couple Penguins on the bust alerts with Malkin and Bryan Rust. And last thing is the return on investment. This is for cap leagues. So again, my criteria here is a minimum of a bridge contract at 1.5 to 5 million. 3 guys that jump out in the Metro. We've got kick it off with a defenseman, Noah Dobson. If you get him in this year, he's making about 4.2 million. His return on investment's about 0.91 points per dollar spent. So it's really good for a 70-point defenseman. If you can get him in now, you're not going to pay for him. It might be a guy, if you're in a cap league, a cap dynasty league,
Yeah.
you may have to look at another option, because he's going to break the bank when he signs his real contract. Scott Lofton, he's a hitter, is a shot blocker, third line guy, but he gets a lot of minutes in Philly, younger team. but he's picking up his minutes right now. With his contract, he's getting you about 1.12 points per dollar spent. So again, for those kind of salary cap leagues that, hey, I'm thin on money, I can't afford the 10 million guys, I can't afford the 8 million guys. He's going to be in that $3-4 million range and get you a good return, or a good guy to throw in maybe a trade. Hey, throw this guy in. He's going to get you a good return on investment. And last but not least, Alex Lafreniere. Again, I know he's going to sign for big bucks in New York next year, but right now this dude's clocking along. This is one of the better ones that I've seen on the return for investment of, but 1.37 points per dollar spent. Based on his last 3 years of stats. So even with the slow start and his good last couple of years, this dude's doing it. So if you can jump in on him again this year, at least for this year, you're going to get a very good value for your dollar in the dynasty salary cap league. So, yep, that's all I got.
All right, yeah, sounds great. I've run them down. Before I do that, we got a comment from our friend Kevin Dyer. Said thanks. Said you guys are killing it. Thanks very much, Kevin. Appreciate it. I came up with some OV bets here on FanDuel. Very interesting what I found here, guys. Some of these I'm gonna maybe throw some money on. So right now, the top bet is Ovechkin 42 plus goals to break Gretzky's career goal record is plus 1,000.
Oh,
if you
get
think
on
he
that.
breaks the record this year, 42 goals, it's plus 1,000. I knew you would love that, Toast.
Why else would you bring in PLD? And actually, all of these guys, considering your window to win is not right now. The only reason they're actually bringing in all of these guys is the fact that they actually want him to break the record this year. So,
yep.
I mean, because it makes no sense how they actually signed those guys and actually brought them in. Chikrin, 1 year contract. PLD, okay, he's actually in there. Oshie's got 1 year left as well. They are doing everything possible to actually have him break the record. Plus 1,000. Holy shit. I'm on that, man.
I need to borrow money too. Want to borrow money, JT?
I'm putting money on that tonight.
Just pass around the bills tonight. Don't worry about me. Just
and
pass
the way
around
he
the
ended
bills.
up last year, he was on a freaking tear at the end of the season, man.
Yeah,
that's
that one. I've got a few more here. I'm going to throw to you guys and see what you like. All right, so that one's plus 1,000. I think we're all three in agreement. Jump on that plus 1,000 for 42 goals to break the record. Points plus 60 plus regular season points is minus 175 right now. 80 plus regular season points is plus 450. If you think he gets to 80, they've got a 50 plus at minus 550, which of course I don't love that at all. I'm not throwing out 550 to win 100 on plus 50, even though if you think he's going to get the goals, he should clear that easy. But you're at minus 550 there. Then you can get to goals. This is what you wanted to know, Toast. Where are they at the goals? 30 plus regular season goals, minus 150. 40 plus regular season goals, plus 800. So 800 to get to 40, plus 1,000 to get to 42 and break the record. Hart Trophy for Ovi plus 30,000, and and then Richard Ricard, which is a tough one. He's at plus 10,000 for the Rocket Richard Trophy. Is plus 10,000 for him to win that.
Well,
so
if it wasn't for Matthews, okay, I'd sprinkle a bit on that. Stay away from points on him. He's not an assist guy. He's a goals guy. All right, but the goals, the over 30, that's laughable. That's laughable.
Minus 150 at plus 30.
Yeah,
I mean, that
laughable.
feels like the
guy's always been durable.
Easy bet.
He's never really been hurt. He can bang with the best of them. He's going to be determined. That's the only purpose that franchise actually has this year. They overachieved last year. Sorry, they did. And they can bring in all of that baggage this year and everything else. And that's their only objective this year is to get the goal record this year. Plus 850 at over 40 goals.
40 goals is plus 800. 40 goals is plus 800. 42 goals. He's only got to get 2 more to break the record. is plus 1,000 right now.
Aaron, so JT, find some money in your cushions. Aaron, you go ahead and do the same.
Yeah.
Turn everything
yeah.
We're
upside
doing
down.
that.
We'll shake it. We'll shake it
And
out.
yeah, we're doing that. And we're also doing the Rangers on the over 100.5 points. Those are just, they're missing it. They're missing it there. Those are the best plays. By far, not even close.
I'm on it now.
Anything
Absolutely.
final face-off thoughts from you fellas as we close this thing out on an hour and a half here?
Yeah, we're supposed to go an hour. We get excited. That's not going to happen. JT, you're just going to keep
these
podcasting.
preview shows always go a little long because we got a lot to go over. So
That's right.
it's not a big deal.
It's somebody else's fault. Exactly. Guys, I'm gonna sit in my basement tonight. I'm gonna watch some hockey highlights from previous Cup wins from the Hawks. I'm gonna look over my dynasty team and salivate on how freaking great it is. And I'll probably text you guys and just talk shit all night. So, hey, get ready. It's gonna happen. Hope you guys aren't planning on going to bed because I'm not. I'm staying up. Hey, this whole debate thing doesn't matter. Not watching the highlights makes no difference at all. It's all hockey, man.
Love it. Well
Anything
said.
from you, Aaron, to finish it up?
No. How can I top that? That's awesome. I'm right there with you. Nice closing.
All right, that is going to do it for us here on Around the Ice on Fantasy and Frames. If you haven't, do so. Go like, subscribe, hit the notify button so you know when we're coming on. You can search on Fantasy and Frames YouTube. You just go down to all Around the Ice. You just search us, find it. You can find it Around the Ice. You can find all our episodes, our past episodes. So if you missed any of these previews or any of our tier episodes going on forwards, defensemen, goalies, just go back, take a look at that. We will have our draft coming up, our dynasty draft. So that will come up as well as the rest of our previews here in the next couple weeks. If you haven't had enough of us here on Fantasy Frame, stick around. We've got the week 3 college football betting show with me and Ben Dyer coming up next. We'll go over all the games and actions for this week and we'll see what we like, what we don't like, and what you should be looking for as the lines change as it gets closer to the weekend. For Toast and Aaron, I'm JT. Thanks for joining us here on Around the Ice. We will check you next time.
See you guys.